day to you, Guyana, and welcome to another edition of Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. As you can see, my smile is bigger and brighter this week than usual because it's always good when I can have one of my own fellow comrades and colleagues, and of course, in this case, brother, on this program. Today's program is designed to focus on the People's National Congress reform. Most of you would have heard by now that the 19th Biennial Congress for the People's National Congress reform is coming up on the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th of August. That's beginning next Friday, so it's going to be on all weekend. One of the things that we do at that Congress is elect our leader, the party chairman, party vice chairman, and other officers, like, for example, the members of the Central Executive Committee. Now, this year, he is no stranger to politics. He's no stranger to elections. He's no stranger to the various competitions, and in this case, the race. James Bond has decided to he hasn't decided to throw his hat in the race. He was nominated to run for vice chairman of the People's National Congress reform. My first question to James, and of course, I got caught up. I thought I didn't need to introduce him because, again, he's no stranger to you. So, James Bond, welcome back to Facing the Nation.
Thank you for having me again, Malika. It's always a pleasure.
All right. It's always wonderful to have you here. Also, viewers, remember, James Bond is a former member of Parliament. He is also one of our youth leaders, our very prominent youth leaders. And, of course, he's also an attorney at law, a very accomplished one, I must add. James, let's just jump right into things. Why should James Bond be vice chairman of the People's National Congress reform? Or I should say one of the vice chairpersons, because there is a spot for two of them. Why should you be one of them?
The most compelling reason, I think, it's youth representation. I think it is right that at this juncture the party is at, that we start identifying the future of the party, the future leaders of the party, the persons in whose hands the party will be in the next 20, 30, 40 years. We need to have a succession plan in place. I'm not in any way saying that I will be the leader or I will be the president, but at least we need to start looking at that fresh layer or fresh tier of leaders to come forward. The PNCR has been around for a number of years. And I think it is the vision. If you want to be if you want to be a vibrant party, if you want to be a party that is in touch with the citizenry, then you must look to the young people. And therein lies the more compelling reason for my entry into the race. The other reason is that party work must go on. Mm-hmm. We're now in government, and most of our ministers are actually from the top tier of the party structure. This means that the workload for those said leaders, being ministers in government as well, is pretty heavy. I could attest to the fact that our ministers work extremely hard, very diligent to their tasks, and my duty or my entry is simply to share that load, share that burden. I would have done so in a number of instances by trying to attract new members to the party, by trying to promote the interests of the party all across the length and breadth of this country. Becoming vice chairman is not necessarily for title. Mm-hmm. It is necessarily for responsibility. I think the vice chairman position, I think, has been an oft-looked one that is not as important as the chairman or a leader. Mm-hmm. And I think that is due to the fact that persons may not see featuring in the dailies or featuring in the annals the work of the vice chair. But I intend to change all of that. I intend to be a vice chairman that actually puts the shoulder to the wheel and goes about growing the membership of the party and sharing the vision and expanding the party throughout Guyana.
I have no doubt that you can do that. But let me play a devil's advocate here and come back to something that you said earlier. You talked about the fact that you believe it's time for the stage to be set for young people to go where they need to go in terms of the party. Now, the fact is, you have been saying this, I have been saying this, people like Chris Jones, Ryan Belgrave, they would have been saying these things since 2011. That is the first election in terms of this era. We all would have been saying this. And it never seemed to have materialized. Why do you believe now, at this point in time, party, whether it be leadership, ordinary members, are confident enough to put their X's or to vote for not necessarily James Bond the personality, but James Bond the young person, the young individual. And my emphasis here again is on young.
I think that's a very important question. I think it's a question that the membership should ask themselves as to why haven't we followed through since 2011 to have a young person, and you call some very, very good names there, in the leadership structure of the party. We are actually in the executive, but in terms of the top tier, where we're actually a vice chairperson, a treasurer, secretary, a leader, or a chairperson, I think we've had always strived, and the leader has always strived to have representatives from the geographical constituencies, from the race constituencies, from the religious constituencies. And the members, I believe, especially the young members of the party, they know that the time is now. And I think more so persons from the adult membership or all the persons within the party also recognize that the time is now for young leadership. Because, for one, the coalition is a viable option. But it could only be a viable option if the youth is remains within the corner of the coalition parties. And if the PNCR, the Alliance for Change, Justice for All Party, NFA, if they're really serious about holding on to the youth support, then they will do well to have youth within the upper echelons of the party. And that is a statement I think that the members, they're prepared to make. I think the delegates are prepared to make that it's not a tough choice to make, it's a wise choice to make. So you know what, we realize that the importance young people they have played since 2011, more so in 2050, we realize the efforts of the young people. And it's not about rewarding, it's about looking forward into what we want our party to be, our party will be able to attract in 2020, which is just around the corner.
Some of the names that would have been nominated thus far, we're not sure how many would have accepted. Some of the names nominated just far, you have Minister of State himself, Joseph Harmon, and this is nominated for a vice chairman position. Vala Lawrence, Minister of Social Protection. I should also let the viewers know that Chris Jones, another youth leader, would have also been nominated, but I think he has since declined. There are other names being thrown around like Winston Felix and so on. These are what in politics we would describe as the big guns in your own right, and among the youth, James Bond too is a big gun. But are you in any way intimidated and afraid that you might, mash toes? Because I know you're very respectful to these leaders and you also work along with them. So do you feel that would strain the relationship, or are you intimidated by them in any way?
Well, the first thing I ran against Brigadier David Grange himself. I ran against Carl Greenidge. I ran against Basil Williams. I ran against Faith Harding. And the truth of the matter is, I got close with all of them as a result of my being in that race in 2010. The Brigadier, His Excellency Brigadier David Grange and I got very close during the campaign trail. The same goes for this election. I would never at any time say anything bad about my leaders or my fellow colleagues. I mean, that would be foolish of me to so do. Because if you tarnish the reputation of your own member, you tarnish the reputation of yourself, since you and that member are in the same fold. Intimidation. Now, Malika, the world knows that I do not know the word intimidation. I've never seen myself as, I think, since I came into the People's National Congress Reform, I did not went for chairman of GYSM because I always thought I saw myself. I always like to play with the big boys. Forgive me. I think we're equals, and I would never ever at any time think that I'm above anyone. At the same time, I would never ever think that anyone is above me in terms of ability, in terms of competency. I think it's about if you're prepared to work hard. And I'm prepared to work hard for this party. I've proven that much, that I'm willing to give my time, my resources, blood, sweat, and tears, literally speaking also, to the party and to the cause. That is what I'm about, and I think that the members, I know they know what James Bond is about, and I have very utmost confidence in them.
All right. Viewers, if you're now tuning in, of course, this is Facing the Nation. Today, I'm having a conversation with former Member of Parliament, youth leader, and attorney at law, James Bond. We are talking about the fact that he is in the race for Vice-Chairmanship of the People's National Congress Reform come next weekend. James, I want to discuss some other PNC matters, but before we come off from you as the candidate. And viewers, I should also let you know, because next week is the beginning of the Congress, next week, Friday, I'll also invite James back one more time to basically pitch himself to you, which he's obviously doing a wonderful job. But let's talk about James again, some more James Bond, the candidate. You did say that it's time for young people to do more work and take their rightful places and so on in terms of leadership and being trained and so on for leadership. Aside from those things that you would have mentioned already, what can not only the young people, but the People's National Congress Reform, as one of the strongest political parties and the most powerful political party in this country, what can those members and possible potential members expect from James Bond? What will James Bond do as one of the vice chairpersons if elected? And again, this is not only about, this part of my question is not only about serving the young people.
I stand up on I want to campaign on two things: growth and vision. The party must be grown in terms of membership, and the party must be grown in terms of financial resources. I think the time has come when we boast about 6,000 members, 10,000 members. Those days have to be far gone behind us. I think my first initiative, I think I would have done a registration drive in the past, which netted about 100 and something members. It's a countrywide registration drive. I think we need to move away from the fallacy that everyone that wants to grow the party is interested in power or grabbing leadership. I think we must, at the end of the day, believe that people are capable of choosing the competent ones around us. And if you have a wider pool to choose from, you're all the better for it. I don't think we should ever think that the posts or positions are one indicative that of our import to the party. You could be an ordinary member and still be very important to the party. You could still be a leader and fail the party. So I think we need to expand that pool from which we choose our members from. And this would include a greater impact in non-traditional areas, a greater impact in areas of the interior. So that's a growth in terms of membership, growth in terms of finances now. I believe the time has come when our party must be more business-oriented. We need to look at ways in which we grow our revenue base, which just can't be rent and sale of properties. I think we should go into diversifying and using Congress Place for these things were said before in the past, but I think it's time to be forceful now about it. The party has had a coherent vision of where it wants to go in terms of finances. We have set up various companies. We've done a lot of things that are worthy of recognition. But I think the step needs to go forward in terms of growing that revenue base so that we could be on sure footing. So that's basically on growth. In terms of vision, we need to be a 21st century party.
Okay.
We need to be a 21st century party. The world is changing in terms of technology, in terms of social impact, in terms of how persons view their leaders, how persons view themselves. And we need to adjust in terms of changing how we perceive how the nation should run. We should always be prepared for leadership in government. I think one of the criticisms that we have received from persons is that we were out of government so long that we were seemingly unprepared for government. That should not be a criticism leveled against the PNCR.
Okay.
We should always be ready for government. We should always be ready for the challenges any other political party may throw at us.
Let me jump in here, because you did talk about being ready for challenges that any other political party throw at us, and the fact that we should always be ready for government. In that sense, in the sense of government, the fact that the PNCR is only one of the political parties inside a coalition government, have you at any point within the last year since the APNUAFC took office felt as though it is a possibility for the PNCR, especially the young vulnerable minds in the PNCR, to somewhat lose their identity as a PNC person?
That is always on my thinking. Not that we lose our identity, but that we sway or we sway from being PNC to non-PNC. Let me just say, instead of giving any to non-PNC, and lose our support base, because you would realize that if another party campaigns heavily in terms of heavy propaganda, in terms of highlighting the faults and failures of any political party, then you will make inroads. And as a political party, you must always insulate yourself that there's, I want to say, zero inroads into your base, or into independence. I think the PNCR has always had found favor with intellectuals, with the ordinary people, with the working class people, with public servants, with civil servants, and that is our base. And I think we could only preserve that base, whether they're in quarantine, whether they're in Region 1, whether they're in Region 9, by using our vision of targeting a particular generation, always looking to target a particular generation with policies and programs, getting them into the subset or the subnet of the PNCR's activities. And we've strayed away somewhat from that. The fault, I would say, I would take some of the responsibility for that, in terms of continually attracting that fresh base into our party. And that has to be our forward-thinking vision. It is not just about, we have an election coming up, now we're coming out. I think the work of the young people must be encouraged, supported, and promoted by the leadership. I think young people, if motivated, they could yield tremendous results. And I think that should be our vision at the end of the day.
On the note of motivation, there has been, of course, viewers, for those of you who have missed it thus far, and I'll try to bring you clips of it in the second half of this program, the PNC hosted its press conference on earlier in this week to officially and formally announce the hosting of the 19th Biennial Congress. Again, this is where James is running for Vice-Chairmanship. And one of the things that would have been raised by some of the members of the media, and I've heard this sentiment from other parts, other sections of society, is that, look, the PNCR has not done enough work, it's not doing enough work, and these sort of concerns keep recurring. How are you, James Bond? How will James Bond respond to those criticisms and sentiments?
First, I would say this: we've not done enough. If we've reached the point where we're saying we've done enough, then we should quit politics. We have not done enough work. As a party, as individuals, I have not done enough work, political work, for the PNCR. And I think that should always be our challenge, never to settle that, we've arrived. What the nation needs, and I want to say this, whilst you were in opposition, this is what I heard elders, the social thinkers say to me, what your party needs is to be strong. Our party needs to project strength. I think there is an attempt by the opposition party to divide our country. And you could divide this country easily if there are weak persons, weak-minded persons who gravitate to race, who gravitate to intolerance, who gravitate to religious bigotry. You could divide any person that is weak, you divide any subset of people. But if you have a strong party, you have a strong party with a strong message, and I think we have had the message of inclusivity, trailing back from LFS Burnham to Hugh Desmond Hoyt. We've always had that message of inclusivity. And I think that message needs to be spread throughout Guyana in a more forcible way. And the only group, I want to say this, the only group that could break those shackles, the young people. Don't matter, you could ask any person to be honest with themselves. You can't bend a tree when it's old. It will break.
Very true.
You need to train the tree from its youth. And I think in the area of inclusivity, I think the young people need to be given that opportunity. I think the Youth for Change, they're planning a unity walk on Sunday, in which I'm a guest speaker there. And I think those are the kind of things that we need to promote and encourage when young people do things. It's not that we're trying to shut you out or steal your glory. Or to, I think a lot of persons in power, a lot of elder persons, when they say a young person, he's a young upstart, he's young, and he should wait his turn. I mean, for my own part, I'm extremely patient. And, but at the end of the day, you do not want to waste your youth. You do not want to waste your political youth.
Exactly.
And I think
But on that note, how do you feel about this continued sentiment? And I keep hearing it, and one person says it, and then it's taken by another person, and it's probably twisted and taken out of context. What do you make of this continued statement it keeps hitting us in the face? Young people are not ready for leadership. What do you make of that statement? And unfortunately, and viewers here, I'm not trying to attack our leaders or the older persons in various political quarters, not only ours, but this is the fact. Most times when you hear young people are not ready for leadership, it comes from the older folks. What do you make of that statement?
I think, and I want to be very frank, because I don't think I should be any
always
less,
are.
as I always
I
am.
always call you controversial.
I think persons are insecure. What you need to do is have a situation whereby you trust. You have to understand that everyone will make mistakes and make missteps. Even the adults, even the senior political heads make missteps and make mistakes and fail in politics, fail in leadership. If that weren't the case, I think Ghana would be far advanced today. Far advanced. So we could admit that our leaders in the past, given their experience and age, have made a lot of mistakes and a lot of blunders. What was proposed by Minister Lawrence a few years ago, I think it was the 18th biennial, is that we started training people to understudy leaders, the current leaders.
We have not done that.
And that is a direction we need to go. You need to prepare young people. You need to prepare you don't arrive as a leader. You have to be tried and tested. And trying and testing a young person, their youth, by giving them exposure, by giving them experiences, that is what will save the day. You can't now just expect a person to say, oh, young people are ready, and when they have not received any training, they have not proven themselves in any which capacity. You can't take a young person out of school and say, you be president. But at the end of the day, we must make an effort to promote young people, to train young people, to give them the opportunities which they could excel. And I think that is where we need to put a lot of emphasis on.
Okay, all right, great. Well said as usual. Nothing controversial today. Whether fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure. Let's talk about Congress, and especially Congress at a time when the PNCR is basically in government, because as I said, we're the largest party in the coalition. What does Congress mean, or I should ask you, what are you expecting from Congress, from the PNCR's Congress? And these are elections aside. What are you expecting from our 19th biennial Congress at this time, knowing that we are currently in government?
Well, the first thing comes to mind is I expect a Congress that is orderly, that a Congress that Guyana looks and Guyana is proud of, that Guyana could see that therein lies the future. Therein lies answers to the business community, to public servants, to nurses, to doctors, to teachers, to the garbage collector. Therein lies the answer to the agriculture sector. I think the focus on being the vanguard for the green economy is a very, very, very timely one. As I see that our nation, even though it's expecting oil, and the revenue that comes with it, we still need to focus on not being dependent on one particular resource, a diversification, looking for ways and means in which we could better our people and giving them the good life that we've promised since 2011. So I expect a Congress in which I could walk away from saying, this was one of the better ones, this was the best one I've ever attended.
And whether win or lose, which, and I have no doubt that you'll
I will become a vice chairperson of the party.
Okay. And viewers, again, just to remind you, there are two spots. There are always two spots. There are always two vice chairpersons, whether it be male or female. There are always two vice chairpersons of the People's National Congress Reform. So most of us are hoping that James, not only hoping, we're going to voting to ensure that James is certainly one of those persons. And I know some of you are at home probably saying, oh, how can we vote? Well, unfortunately, it's only for delegates, people who are chosen, who are elected delegates. And those who were candidates in the 2015 general and regional elections, they would automatically be candidates once you are a paid and updated member of the People's National Congress Reform. James, it is almost time for me to wrap up my conversation with you today, but viewers, not to worry, he'll be back again next week because we're going to keep throwing him out there, and I have no doubt that he'll be doing all the campaign that he possibly can, not only on social media, but everywhere else in terms of ensuring that he get those votes in. But James, before I wrap up my discussion with you for today, anything else that you want to leave with the public at this time, especially the delegates, especially those people who have to vote?
Yes, those are the most important people.
Yes.
I want to say very, very clearly that I have been with the PNCR for a number of years now, and it's a party that I love. I think all Guyana knows my allegiance and my loyalty is unquestionable to the ideals of the PNCR. Being a student of politics, I know the challenges, and I wish everyone who is, I think all 17 members who were nominated, whoever accepts the nomination, I wish them well. However, I do believe that the time is now for youth representation. I think it is time that we pay more serious emphasis to youth representation in our party, in the country as a whole. And with that in mind, I urge you to support my candidacy for vice chair of the party. That's it.
Thank you very much, James Bond. Viewers, of course, if you're now tuning in, unfortunately, you have missed a really good conversation with James Bond. If you're wondering why he's back on here, he's become like, he's almost no longer a visitor to this program. But we were chatting about the fact that James is one of the candidates for the vice chairman position in the People's National Congress Reform. Our 19th Biennial Congress begins next Friday. And of course, the elections would be on Sunday. And James is one of the persons who would have accepted the nomination for vice chairman of the party. But again, you'll hear some more from him next week as we get closer to those elections. Those of you who missed the conversation, you're now tuning in. You can also, for those of you who follow me on social media, check my Facebook page and my YouTube channel for this conversation a little later on in today. But James, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me, my sister.
It's wonderful. And of course, I forgot, James, you have some viewers on Facebook Live right now. So hello to those viewers, and thank you very much to you all for tuning in. Viewers, what I'll do is take a quick break. On the other side of the break, I'll chat with you, and I also promise to bring you some of those clips from the press conference held earlier in this week to officially announce the 2016 Biennial Congress for the People's National Congress Reform. Stay with Facing the Nation. Thanks for staying with Facing the Nation. Of course, great conversation there with James as always. And of course, he reminded you how important it is for young people to take their rightful places. And the fact is, we're not going to be young in 5 years, and we're not going to be young in 10 years. At least not in the sense that we mean. Not that we're going to be old people. And I always say, you're as young as you feel. But in terms of the political sense, age will eventually catch up on all of us, and it really is good to hear from him in terms of his plans and so on, and the fact that he continues to push for young people. And we're in a society where our young people need all of the help that they can possibly get and all of the good influences. So thank you very much to him for coming. Of course, I did promise you that we're only having one conversation today, but the second half of the program, I'm dedicating it to the part of that. The press conference is about 45 minutes long, so obviously I'm not going to be able to bring it in its entirety to you, but you'll get the most of that press conference held earlier this week. You'll hear from the current chairman of the party, Basil Williams, who is also running for chairman once again. I think thus far it's not contested, so that would be an easy win for him. I doubt that the leadership is also being contested, because these people who were nominated for those positions have declined. So for those two top posts, it might be very easy wins. So that is what is happening in terms of our Congress. Before I introduce this clip, I also want to talk a bit about something that keeps bothering me, and it's all in the subject and in the topic of youth. It seems as though our young people are under the attack, and it's very unfortunate. I mean, 2 weeks ago, a young lady's body was found in the Hope Canal. It was discovered, investigators discovered that, she was murdered. Another young person was killed in a road accident. I'm not saying that the lives of our older folks are not valuable, but what I am saying is that we need to take better care of our younger persons. A few days ago, we heard that a 13-year-old boy was beaten to death over a girl, and the ages of the persons, the culprits who were accused and eventually confessed to beating a 13-year-old to death, you're talking about 26, 28, and I think 58. I don't understand how there can be an altercation with a 13-year-old over a girl, and these are grown men, and I'm probably missing something, but regardless of what it was over, at the end of the day, this is you murdered a teen, and I don't understand what is going on. So I'm taking this opportunity right now to call on parents to pay more attention. I mean, it's unfortunate that sometimes we wait until these things happen to remember what we should be doing as parents, but I try to remind you every week: protect your families, protect your homes. Hopefully next week I can have someone from the Rights of the Child Commission come on and talk about the works of the rights of the child and what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. Unfortunately, I couldn't have anyone today, but they did promise me that they'll try their very best to be on Facing the Nation next week, and we'll discuss the state of our children. Of course, that James will also be back next week. But for now, I just want people to remember the importance of protecting your families, and the younger ones in the families are most important at this time. You need to protect them. They're extremely vulnerable. So let's do, what we can at this point. It really is a bit unsettling right now for me to even continue talking about that. But for now, just take a look at part of the press conference that was held this week regarding the PNCR's 19th Biennial Congress. This is Facing the Nation. Good morning and welcome to the People's National Congress Reforms press briefing for today, Wednesday, the 17th day of August 2016. Today's press conference is designed to formally and officially announce the 19th Biennial Delegates Congress, the hosting actually of the PNCR's 19th Biennial Delegates Congress. Allow me to introduce the panel, of course, beginning with, to my extreme right, Mr. Oscar Clark. He is the General Secretary of the People's National Congress Reform. Of course, next, Mr. Basil Williams is the Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform. He is also the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. And also Minister Amna Ali. She is the Assistant General Secretary of the People's National Congress Reform and the Minister of Social Cohesion. The statement will be read by the Chairman, Mr. Basil Williams.
Thank you, Malika. Good day, ladies and gentlemen of the media.
All the mics, sir.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen of the media. The press statement of the People's National Congress Reform captioned the PNCR 19th Biennial Delegates Congress. The People's National Congress Reform will be holding its 19th Biennial Delegates Congress from Friday, 26th August to Sunday, 28th August 2016. Article 7.2 of our party's constitution states, and I quote, "The supreme authority of the party shall be the Biennial Delegates Congress, which shall be held at such time and place every 2 years as the General Council or the Central Executive Committee may decide." End of quote. The theme for this year's Congress is, and I quote, "PNCR, Vanguard of a Green Economy." End of quote. His Excellency, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Brigadier David Granger, has said, and I quote, "Guyana's green development strategy will be developed as a template for the greening of Guyana. Guyana will have a green economy. We will transition our economy rapidly towards renewable, clean, and cheaper sources of energy. We will create green enterprises and jobs, and we will inculcate green education in our schools." End of quote. As the largest mass-based party in Guyana and the largest partner in the coalition, APNU plus AFC administration, the People's National Congress Reform will lead and show leadership as we work towards achieving the goal of a green Guyana. At this our 19th Biennial Congress, over 500 delegates and several hundred observers from all 10 administrative regions of the country, the North America region of our party, and the United Kingdom will be in attendance. Meeting in this our Jubilee year, the PNC recalls with pride that it was our party that entered government as part of a coalition administration in December 1964. It was our party on the 26th May 1966 that embarked on the task of transforming a deeply divided colony into the United Independent State of Guyana. The new state adopted the inspiring motto, and I quote, "One people, one nation, one destiny." It was not an empty slogan to adorn our coat of arms, but an article of faith and an affirmation of our creed. Our party, 50 years ago, made a contract with this nation. We are the heirs and executors of that contract. Congress is a working session. For us, it is not a period of jubilation, but rather 2 days of hard work, where we not only examine the state of the party, but make plans for the economic and social development of the nation. The party leader, Brigadier David Granger's keynote address to the Congress, will be presented on the opening day, Friday, 26th August 2016. The welcome and opening remarks will be delivered by the party chairman, Honorable Bassel Williams MP. The highlight of Day 2, Saturday, 27th August, will be the report of the General Secretary, Mr. Oscar Clark, CCH, which will be followed by 2 working sessions. The final day, Sunday, 28th August, delegates will vote for a party leader, chairman, 2 vice chairmen, treasurer, and 15 other members who will become the elected members of the Central Executive Committee of the People's National Congress Reform. Please note that media personnel will only be allowed into the Congress for the opening ceremony at the PNCR headquarters, Congress Place, Sophia. The next 2 days, which are Saturday, 27th August and Sunday, 28th August 2016, media personnel will be allowed to enter the compound at the end of the respective day's session for interviews and other business pertaining to the Congress. This ends our statement at this time.
Mr. Williams, and it should all them railways. Sir, could you say who are some of the persons nominated and for what positions and whether they've accepted?
GS?
Wait a second.
At the close of nominations for persons to be nominated, close of nominations, the following persons were nominated for the various positions. And I give you their names in order. The leader of the People's National Congress, Brigadier David Arthur Granger. Chairman of the People's National Congress, Mr. Basil Williams. Mr. Robert Corbin, Ms. Paula Lawrence, and Ms. Lurleen Nestor. Vice Chairman of the People's National Congress, and there will be two Vice Chairpersons. The persons nominated for Vice Chairman are as follows: Paula Lawrence, George Norton, Benny Raymond, Clement Corlett, Joseph Harmon, Aubrey Norton, James Bond, Don Hastings, Christopher Jones, and Winston Felix. 10 persons were nominated. For the post of treasurer, 3 persons were nominated: Ronald Bulkan, Larry London, Annette Ferguson. Those were the nominees. These nominees were sent the letters as usual to indicate whether they're going to be running or not. And I have not received all the responses yet, but for those that I've received, David Granger has agreed to run as leader. Basil Williams has agreed to run as chairman. Clement Corlett has agreed to run as vice chairman. And Winston Felix has agreed to run as vice chairman. Those are the ones I have received so far. I can't tell you what will happen between now and the 24th. And for the treasurer, Larry London has indicated that he's not interested in running as treasurer. The other two have not indicated anything yet. So, but that's the position with the nominees at the close of nominations.
Next question, please. There's a microphone going around. Please use it. Thank you.
Chairman of Good Evening News. I'm seeing a lot of stalwarts here.
Maybe I should add that for the members of the Central Executive Committee, there were 73 nominations. I wouldn't want to read them out to you, but 73.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
I've noted a lot of stalwarts here, the ones that I recognize. But what percentage, or could you say, is like for youth, in terms of youth persons running for posts?
I must admit that I haven't examined the list to see how many women, how many youth, and so yet. But that will be done. But from what you were able to glean from the list I called, you can come to your own conclusions as to how many youth there are.
Marcel Thomas, Starbuck News. Just for a bit of clarity, the candidates, they have up to the 24th to say whether they accept or not?
Yes, right down to the last moment, they can indicate. Because you see, we have to prepare for. We have to prepare for balloting, and so the ballot papers have to be prepared before the Congress, so that they must indicate before. So we set the 24th so as to give everybody a full chance of responding.
Who will be the returning officer?
And incidentally, if a person doesn't respond, that person's name would be on the ballot.
That's Mike come down, Michael Somersault. Same person.
Any other questions? Somebody, please. Oh.
Gordon Mosley, News Source. Mr. Williams, sir, with regards to the strength of the PNC, we have not been hearing much from this party since it went into government as part of the coalition. How is the party doing with regards to its members? Are your members satisfied with the work you've been doing for them as part of the government?
When you said you referring to the party?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Yes, in fact, we've been up and about. As you know, when we entered into government, many of us would have been new to ministries, so we had to pay a lot of attention there. But the work of the party has been ongoing, and the Assistant General Secretary, the General Secretary, Vice-Chairman, I've been, we've been going out and about. I was in Region 6 last weekend. No, the weekend before, I was in Region 9 a couple of days ago for the last weekend. And we're moving around. Region 3, SC Cribble, I spent a weekend there too. So all the members are actually doing what they have to do. But I don't believe that in a coalition of 6 parties, that basically that one would expect that the one party would try to project itself, at the expense of the other members in the coalition. I don't think that we wish to be like that, but we are working. We work with our groups, our districts, our regions, and the party is in its 59th year. We are proposing to hold our 60th anniversary next year with a big celebration, and I think anyone without any contradiction would recognize that a party that has survived for 59 years is not a party that one would expect to just disappear or go into desuetude. It's a great party, this great party of ours, and it will be around for another 50 years, easily.
But is the party very active as a political party and not just as a government? Because you come to Congress Place on any given day, and it appears as though it's a ghost town. And you talk to many of your members, and they're saying, this is your first press conference in over a year on any issue. So how active is this party really? And what can members expect as you move forward after this Congress? Can they expect to see a more active party commenting on national issues that may be of interest to the party or their membership?
Actually, I thought I answered your question just now.
Didn't clearly.
I think I gave you an indication that the party is quite active. We're active all over the country. And I think I did indicate to you that being in a coalition, that it really would be incongruous for us to assert ourselves in contradistinction to the coalition. As a party, we are a party, we're doing our business. We know what we have to do. We're servicing our members. We don't have any members, as far as I know, who would believe that the party doesn't exist. As I said, that we're all over. The president travels all over the place. Miss Ali goes all over the place. That there's, in terms of some activities, and as you would know, because you had in relation to me, you had suggested certain things. But when we go, we sometimes go out in both capacities. As we are politicians and we are government ministers, and we are members of parliament. And members of parliament do party work. You do your work. So we don't have any difficulty, we don't have any problems. I know when I say we don't have any problems, we're talking about the way we organize as a party, the way we do our work, the fact that you come to Congress Place, which is a big place, and a lot of the officers are ministers. We have the GS and other staff here. I'm sorry if they're not making a lot of noise, but trust me, the General Secretary and his staff, they're getting a lot of work done.
But you're saying, sir, that you do not believe that in a coalition, one member should project itself or the other. But the PNC is the largest party in that coalition, yet you have the Alliance for Change, which is a smaller party, commenting outside of the government on many national issues, whether it be the city council or issues involving government ministers. So why isn't the PNC doing the same? Or what are your thoughts about what the AFC has been doing?
Well, the AFC, as you know, is a member of the coalition. They're an independent party. What I can tell you, again, we are a mass-based party with tens of thousands of members all over the place, the members who are secured within the PNC and are satisfied with the PNC. And as I said, the line is very blurred between you as a minister and as a member of parliament and as a party person when dealing with any particular issue. When Ms. Ali goes out in a 5-week program, she straddles all of that. When I go out to a region and they're asking me legal questions, they're asking me questions about the party. In fact, everywhere I've gone, it has been a combination of party community meetings, official meetings. I just came back from Region 9, I went to Lethem, we had a presentation for youth leader, we had Mr. Norton down there, we had presentation to the young people who did well at the grade 6 examination. We had presentations with a female football team for the police station. We went up to Anai, there was a competition up there, we were there. We were at Surama, we had meetings there, we had meetings at Arunaputa. And so all these things are rolling into one. I know you said I can't put it on my party website, I should create the Bachelor's MP. But as I said to you, we are working hard. I'm surprised that you were asking that question because somebody said last night that I'm not looking as fresh and rosy as before. The hard work.
Mr. Williams, did they indicate when this special rosiness end?
You took it away.
Could I just add to what Basil said? It has to be remembered that every time the leader of the party speaks, you sometimes interpret him only as president, but he's leader of the party as well.
And leader of the coalition, chairman of the coalition.
PNC.
Yeah.
Leader of the PNC. So that's to be noted.
Yes, Marcel.
My question is, at the last Congress, there was the incident with crowding and security, and that was marred with the firing of a gunshot and the chaos that followed. What assurances can you give delegates at this Congress that there wouldn't be a repeat?
Look, we would all agree that democracy, has its negatives with it, but we're a democratic party. It was unfortunate that our democracy was abused on the last occasion 2 years ago. We can assure you that there won't be a repeat of that because the arrangements that we are making and putting in place, not only security arrangements, but the other administrative arrangements, any, I would say, gridlock in terms of admission into and accreditation and registration and the like. Those things we believe we have them under control. The GS could talk more on that. But as I said, you really can't predict what's in a man's or woman's mind. Anybody could believe that they could make mischief or do what they want to do at any time. And of course, all we have to do is to have the capacity to deal with any of those challenges when the time arises, if the time arises. Yes.
Well, I think you answered.
All right, what you got there was the better half, the bigger part of the press conference held earlier this week by the People's National Congress Reform to officially, informally announce the hosting of the 19th Biennial Congress, which would be held on the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th of August 2016. Of course, that would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And of course, you heard most of the details there for those of you who caught it in the beginning. Again, if you're now joining and you missed that that part of the press conference, it was also uploaded to my YouTube channel, and it's also on my Facebook page. It was done earlier in the week, but because this is a different audience, I decided to bring it back for today's program. Also, if you're now tuning in, you missed my conversation with Vice Chairman Hopeful. And it's more than a hope. We're really pushing for James Anthony Bond to be one of the vice chairpersons of the People's National Congress Reform come the election day, which would be on the 28th. Of course, that is what that is the main event, the main highlight of our Congress that's coming up next weekend. I also promised to bring James back next week just to talk to you a bit more about what you can expect if he becomes one of the chairpersons, one of the vice chairpersons for the People's National Congress Reform. Again, remember, it's two. There is a place for two vice chairpersons, whether it be man or woman, but there is a slot for two, and one will certainly be James Anthony Bond. This is where I have to take my leave from today's program. Do join me again next week for another edition of Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Goodbye.